Let me. We'll also announce it that we have started. Okay. Okay. I'm correct, it's working, but let me check. I'm correct. Yeah, it's working. Nice. Okay. Okay. Let me sit into my original position here. And yeah. Hölgyek, urak, ladies and gentlemen, please let us know if the quality is good. You can see both of us. You can hear both of us, so we can start. Please let us know. Hölgyek, urak, jó a minőség? Nincs lag? There is no lag, right? Ladies and gentlemen, let us know, please. Then we can start. Please let us know. Hölgyek, urak, nincs lag? Nincs lag? Jó, szuper. Köszönöm, Tieruszom. Köszi. Okay, are you done to start? Let me know.
Yeah, you can start if you.
Okay, so welcome everyone in my very new episode of Dev Live Show. I'm here today joined with the creator of the game called Occult Chambers. I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Hi, I am VK Samhith. I'm the founder of Born Monkey.
Okay.
I also am the lead programmer for the project as well.
Okay. So for me, it's very interesting to hear people's origin story about video games. So what was your very first contact, if you can remember that, to video games or with video games?
I mean, are you talking about the first game I made or the first game I played?
First game you played. You played. You played. Yeah.
Probably like Nintendo games, like Mario,
Okay.
Duck Hunt, and all these like classic games. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And how it all transitioned for you from loving and playing video games to making games? Like, when was your first idea? Okay, I want to make games as well, not just play them.
Yeah. So I was definitely like very fascinated by video games when I started to, play them, but I never thought like I'll get into it. But
Okay.
few years before my high school, I think I discovered Adobe Flash. Um, so I thought it was just an software to animate,
Okay.
but I found out that you could also like program and make games with it. So that is when I think I thought, okay, I can do this, because I was playing around with a lot of animations, 2D animations in Flash, and suddenly this massive door opened for me where I can program. So I used to go to these. So I did not have internet in my home back then.
Okay.
So I used to go to these internet cafes, print a bunch of code, bring it, try it out, and then see what these lines do, and then I pieced it together.
Okay,
That is how I started programming. Yeah,
nice.
pretty early. I would say like about 8 to 9 years in terms of age. Yeah.
Okay, I see. That's a very nice story. And have you always had the idea of this game that you are working now on?
Probably like for the past 5 years. Yeah, like not always, but like in the I think when I started the studio after like a year, I had this idea of the game. Yeah.
Is it your first game, by the way, you are working on now?
This would be our first game for PC and consoles.
Okay.
But we did like make a bunch of more than 30 games. Of Most of them are mobile casual games.
I see.
Yeah, and then few of them are services. We do service other studios, make games for others. So a bunch of Unreal Engine, video games for mobile and a PC. So this would be like our first, PC and console game that we have developed ourselves. Yeah.
And what
But we
made
did
you?
like,
Oh, okay. Sorry for interrupting.
but we did like make our own games in the past for mobile. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And what made you switch from like mobile platform to PC and consoles? What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so back in 2018, this was when I was almost going to complete my engineering.
Okay.
And I wanted to make these, as everybody does, these big bombastic games, but I knew that I cannot start from there.
I see.
So I started the studio with the idea that someday I'll be able to make these games
So you
that I
will always
play.
preparing for that moment to make a bigger
Yeah,
game. I see. Nice.
yeah. So, but the opportunities in India where all these mobile platforms and mobile games. So
So
I
it's more
stuck with
more
what.
that there people are more into mobile games. You say?
Yeah,
Oh, I
pretty
see. I
much
see.
dominant. About 95% gamers from India are
Okay, I
mobile. So
didn't
it's
know
just,
that. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So there is a very minute percentage of people that play on consoles.
I see. I see.
Partly because the pricing is not that great for consoles.
I see. I see.
It's a straight up dollar to rupee conversion, and it's just too costly for us to like buy these.
I see. I see.
Steam is much better. Like Steam is has good pricing for India.
Hmm.
So like Steam is much better at for us to like buy games on.
I see. I see. Okay. So you mentioned you are releasing your game on console or planning to release it.
Yes.
You're planning to release like to all platforms like PlayStation 5, Xbox Series
Yeah.
XS, Nintendo Switch.
So the game runs on PC and PS5 at the moment.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Um, yeah. So Xbox, hopefully, uh, we get the dev kits and we try to like port it. But yeah, like we want
Nice.
to be on all platforms. As an indie, it doesn't make sense for us to like pick sides or like take it to one platform. So we would
True,
like
true,
to be
true,
on
true.
all
The more
as
you have, the more people you will gain as players.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Love that attitude. Okay. So what was the hardest part of the process of making your own bigger game? What can you say about that?
I think the hardest part is still like retaining talent for these kinds of games that are not just typically 6 months. Mobile games are like shorter in terms of
Yeah.
making them and releasing them, shorter cycles, production
Okay.
cycles, and whatnot. And this game is just taking forever for us to like make, considering we are funding it ourselves. So like the hardest part is to like motivate people to stay till the finish line.
Were there
Some
some people
people.
who left, by the way, your company who
Yeah,
wasn't like
yeah,
always there? Okay. Was
yeah.
it
So
hard
it's
to
like,
let them go?
yeah, I mean, few people they get tired that this is not getting made, and few people lose interest.
I see.
So it's pretty natural. Like it's pretty natural for in our environment in India where a game with this much of a life production cycle of 3 years or like 4 years is just unheard of, or like they're not used to.
I see.
So
I
they
see. I see. I
just
see.
tend to like leave, or we have to let go because they lost interest in the project or
I
something
see.
like
I
that.
see.
So like retaining passionate people, or like keeping the morale for the entire duration of the production is like the I think the biggest challenge for us. Yeah.
I see. I see. Okay. So, by the way, going into a more personal question, were your family and close friends supportive about your decision that you started making games? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I used to make before starting the company. I used to make games for I used to do internships. I used to make games for others. So it way before the studio, I did like do work in video games. So
Okay, okay.
it was for them. It felt like it was pretty natural for me to
I see,
like
I
go
see,
into this path. So yeah.
I see. Do you think it's important, by the way, that you have a supportive family and friends who are there for you when you make these
Oh
games?
yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, it gets sometimes it gets really lonely when you're trying to do something that others don't even understand. So it's nice to like see have a supportive family to like fall back when things are a bit dark. Yeah.
Okay, I see. And
Yeah.
what's your favorite memory of making your game so far? This bigger game, like not the old ones, but this bigger game.
Yeah. I think there are a few highlights for making this game. I think we showcased this game twice in the local, IGDC, which is like
Okay,
India's version of GDC. So we did showcase it twice. We got an Epic Mega Grant from Epic Games. So we did get like a good amount of feedback,
okay.
recognition, and whatnot. So like that also always feels good to like take it out there and like let people try it out. So that is pretty rewarding to see how people react to the game. Yeah.
Nice. So you were talking about the feedback. Can you get very emotional if you hear people's feedback?
uh, I mean, we showed two versions of the game till now, that is 2022 and 2023.
Okay.
And not emotional, but because these are action horror games, you can see people reacting to your game very easily. Like you can see their emotions very easily. Like you can see someone jumping off the screen when something scaring them. So like there is no, reading through their feedback. You can just on live you can see their reaction. So it's pretty fun to like see their emotions change from like curious to like scared, and then going back to like action and whatnot. So yeah, like that is pretty rewarding to like watch when someone is playing.
I see.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. So during the development process of your biggest game now, how do you think have you changed as a person in other territories of your life as from being a game dev? What skills have you picked up in other territories of your life as from being a game developer yourself?
God, I think I've become better at multitasking.
Okay.
Like, I mean, we are an indie studio, so we have to wear a lot of hats.
Okay.
So what I've learned is, I mean, earlier in my career, I used to work throughout the weeks, and like, there was no Sunday or Monday to me. So like, I used to work a lot, but I've scaled down. Like I've started to work just within the office times, and like sometimes now and then I overwork, but I've cut down on how much I overwork in the recent times, uh, because it was just leading to burnout, or like just productivity just goes down.
True. True.
uh,
True.
Not the number of hours, but like the quality of
Yeah.
hours. So like that philosophy has been passed on to the team as well, where we only work during the hours, and like we don't try to like burn ourselves out.
I see. I see.
Yeah, so that kind of helped me get some perspective on how the balance is supposed to be, and
Okay.
yeah, like that I think is the most valuable thing I've picked up in the recent time. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And so, as going back to the game itself, so I believe that most of us creators who create some crafts, even if it's games or other forms of art, but let's stick to the games now. I believe that creators are making these games from their own experiences, and somehow they, even if it's not intentional, they put themselves and their experiences into a game. So is that true
Hmm.
for yourself as well, that you had some, experiences that you put into your game, even if it's a horror game, but for example, the
Yeah.
father son story or something like that, is that the case for you too?
No, I mean I'm pretty close to my father. In fact, he
Okay.
does music for the game, so the entire music production is done by my father.
Oh,
So
okay, nice, nice.
yeah, but yeah, like in terms of like the short stories within the game, right? Like
Okay.
these tiny bits of stories that are part of the entire game, usually are from the mythological or like folk tales that we heard when we were small,
Okay.
that never left our head once we heard them. So like stuff that I really am attached to and are still fascinate me to till still today. So like stuff like that is definitely like sprinkled around in the entire game. And I mean obviously some part of your personal biases, or and character or something will bleed into the game for sure. So
See.
like I can see few stories are somehow run parallel to people that are part of our studio and me and whatnot. So there are some parallels between the story that we are trying to tell, and this the studio that we are like the
Okay.
story of the hero is like a hero's journey, where he's trying to do something that is just considered impossible, and we as a studio are also trying to make a game that is a bit ambitious. So it's a bit mimicking what I
I
think.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So where the story comes from? That the son is trying to, find his father, and he's trying to, get into this very weird world of mythology, and
Yeah.
all these strange creatures that he was not believing like before.
Yeah. Yeah. So from a non-believer to believer is what the arc of the story is, and we
Okay.
wanted to like we
Okay.
wanted to like play with that, because majority of the Indians, even though they have grown up reading through all this mythology, we or any person who has learned about their mythologies, their culture, there is this disbelief that this is all made up and whatnot. So we try to play with that whole mindset where what if you're just shown the proof, right? Like you're living
I
through
see. I
and
see. I
seeing
see. I
the,
see. I see.
seeing the mythology come alive. So that kind of introductory story is what the game plays with. So Dhruv's father is an incident happens between Dhruv's family, because of which his father loses all hope and takes goes on this dark side and gets into these rituals and does a lot of bad things, which are later put on Dhruv as blame, and he has to answer for his father's issues, or like problems, or the problems that his father has caused.
I see.
So basically a son is trying to find his father, as well, trying to find answers about what he's up to, and why he has been missing for so long. So these are all the different questions that we answered in the story. Yeah.
Okay, it's nice. It's very nice. I love that the fact that you put real life problems that from a believer and going to a non-believer and vice versa makes into the
Yeah.
game story. It's a very nice touch. Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So where does the main character's name comes from? I wonder
Uh,
it.
so it's like an Indian name.
Okay.
Dhruv is an Indian name,
Okay.
and we wanted to have like a one to two syllable name,
Okay.
and I think this was something that is part of the story and the mythology. We wanted to like base it off of that.
Okay.
It'll be more clear once the game, once you play the game, then all the names of the characters have very distinct role in mythology, and then they just are like a rebrand of those mythological names.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Okay. So
So
I
like
read
there's
about your games, or your game, sorry, on the Steam page, and I read that there are core aspects like puzzle and magic using. So what other core elements are there in the game? What could you tell us about it?
Yeah, so in terms of combat, the game is a magic plus melee. So you
Okay.
get
Okay.
to you get to do melee, and then for range you use magic attacks. And then magic has this interesting mechanic where you cast spells,
Okay.
which is not the typical Hogwarts where you just select a spell and it cast.
Okay.
So you have to like stitch the spell. You have to select a certain order of it very quickly, and then it casts a heavy spell. So you have light spells which are like just press the button and you can shoot, and then you have heavy spells that are basically you stitch them like uh, abracadabra, something like that. For example, you stitch these words
Oh,
together to
okay.
shoot
That's an
shoot that.
interesting mechanic. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
pretty quick. Like obviously, it might feel like it's a difficult way to execute the heavy spell, but like once you get used to it, it's like, let's say in real life you've memorized a spell, you would just immediately
Immediately
spell.
say, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, just like that, you have this quick way to like cast a spell.
How do you
So
pick up
yeah.
those spells in the game? I'm wondering about that.
So there are two ways you pick up spells. One is through boss fights, where
Okay.
a new boss fight has these spells that uses against us,
Okay.
and after we defeat them, you basically have fought with him, so you know these spells. So
Okay.
you
Okay.
just as a reward you get these spells, and then the other way is to like do some sort of side quests, and then you get
Can you
rewarded
miss
these.
picking up some spells by not completing side
Yes.
quests?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And is it crucial if you miss some spells? Are there any bosses or enemies that you won't be able to fight if you are not finding enough spells or the right spells?
Definitely, we would not block someone's path because they
Okay,
missed,
okay.
a side quest, which is pretty possible. So,
Mhm.
obviously, it might make your life easier if you had those spells, but definitely, you would still be able to like, if you follow the main story path, you would still be able to
It
like
just might
make
be a
it.
bit harder, right? If you are not
Yeah,
completing the
exactly.
side quests. Okay,
A bit cooler, and like a
I
bit
see.
more fun. Yeah.
I see. So what about the difficulty that we talked about going to like it might be a bit harder for not completing the side quests. What about the difficulty part of the game? What was your goal or aim with the difficulty for your game? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of ideas with difficulty, but
Okay.
we like how Control does difficulty, where it's a single difficulty, but you can go to the settings and tweak how fast you get this health boost and how fast the reload
Okay.
happens. So it's pretty much left to the people, right? Like, left to the gamers about how to balance the game. From an indie point of view, that seems very appealing to us that we can get away with giving the difficulty settings to the people, to the gamers. But yeah, we have not yet like finalized how the difficulty mode is
I
supposed to
see.
be.
I see.
Either it would be like a easy, medium, hard, the classic way, or we would go with like one difficulty with optional tweaking for you
I see. Okay.
to play. So like
Okay. So it's
obviously
like a
one
still
way is,
deciding process for you guys
yeah,
to make. I see.
yeah.
Okay. I love that.
I mean, the system is there to like make both things work, but we have not like solidly, made a decision on that. Yeah.
I see. Okay. 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 So, and what about the length of your game? What is the goal with that? So, how
Yeah.
long would you like players to enjoy your game? Would you like it
So
like
we
to be a
have,
long or longer game?
obviously we are funding this ourselves, so like there is a certain limitation of how much content we can put in the game.
Okay.
But right now the plan is to have 12 chapters,
Okay.
and each chapter is about 45 minutes to like
Okay.
an hour.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so you have
That's a
like
long.
at
That's a
least,
long game. Nice.
yeah, you have at least 12 hours if you are like very good at the game. But
Nice.
uh, if you are exploring, taking your time, which usually happens in an action horror game, where since our game is heavy on exploration, because on exploration as well, because it's exploring all these Indian forts, temples, and the architecture and all these like artifacts, which would be very fascinating to people that are not part of our culture. Like it would be pretty new for them. So if you take your sweet time, it could be more than 12 hours. Yeah.
Love that. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the puzzle elements or aspects of your game. So what could you tell us about puzzles?
Yes, so puzzles are also like pretty much on brand with what the game is. That is, the game is about rituals, all this magic and whatnot.
I see.
So puzzles are pretty much, each puzzle is like performing a ritual in the world, in the game. Some sort of like occult, touch would be there for each puzzles. We do have like some puzzles where you draw certain
Oh yeah,
symbols,
I saw that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and whatnot. So like there's a lot of variation of what puzzles are in the game,
Okay.
and these are not like typical environment puzzles where you do that, which is in itself a pretty good way to do puzzles. But we have a opportunity to do something new with
Okay.
puzzles in our game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And how would you like to balance the the gameplay aspect of how many puzzles you want into the game, how many bosses, how many enemies, how many explorations? So what's the perfect balance for you as a creator? What can you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, typically at the moment we are close to like 2-3 chapters of it are roughly done.
Okay.
A few parts are missing, but
Okay.
they're almost playable from start to end. Uh, Considering that I've seen that the flow is going through action, and then we take a break with a puzzle, and then we go back to the action, and then we go to horror. Has been the curve. So horror usually comes at the end or at the start, and then it's all puzzles and action in the middle.
I
So
see.
it has
Okay.
this interesting way of, each chapter has interesting way of balancing all of this, and it also helps us to keep it as a chapter because we can focus on that chapter at a time. So
I see.
uh,
Okay. So it's an
yeah.
ongoing process to find the right balance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we also have to test it. We do private testing in our Discord to like get an opinion on
I
how we
will
feel
need to
about it.
join there. Okay.
Yeah,
I will need to join there. Let me know about it
yeah.
after the stream. Okay. And so, what about the bosses and the creatures? Which boss or creature is your favorite one so far?
I think we have one creature that is inspired by these statues that are in front of temples. These are
Okay.
called Yali. Yali. We've reimagined that creature, what it would be if it was real, if it was a real thing, and
Okay.
then
Is it
It
like also
turned out.
based on a folk tale, by the way?
Yeah, so in Indian temples there is a lion-headed lizard body, and it's like a elongated, weird being, creature.
It's like
It is
similar to
meant.
chimera creature. Would you say that?
I would say like a hybrid between lion and a big lizard. I don't know
Okay,
how to.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because chimera is something similar with the lion head, the snake tail, and the goat body or something like that.
There's definitely gold, patterns on the body. Definitely, I
I see.
think closer to chimera, but like is its own thing.
I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So they're meant to be protecting the forest, the temples. So they're put
Okay.
in front of the entrance of the temples. They're
Okay. Okay.
believed that these beings protect the temple. So similarly, we have the creature that is protecting an area in the games, and we have to fight that
Nice.
creature.
Okay.
So like that is pretty interesting, and also it is part of our mythology that we share naturally without preaching. So
Love
yeah,
that. Love
so
that. Love that.
that balance is what we are trying to figure out. Yeah.
Okay. So what if you can think about, like, even if it's not an intentional message, but what could be the message with your game to the players? Because I believe that every story has a deeper message in some
Yeah.
way. And what would be yours, or the game's message that you want
I
to
mean,
give to the
it
players?
would be like a spoiler if I,
Okay,
you know,
okay, don't go
yeah.
into it. Okay, 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 okay.
But yeah, like this game itself does tell a story, and is based on the core values of our mythology. And once you play through it, you get a callback to one of our uh, you know good books in our culture. So you get like a
Oh, okay,
callback to those,
okay, I see.
and everything is like pieced together. But yeah, this does tell a story and has like a good moral angle to it, without being very preachy. It just read between the lines, and you kind of understand what
Will
it's trying
those
to.
understand the core message of your game who are not familiar with the traditional Indian folk tales too?
They will still get that, yeah.
Okay, okay,
The
okay,
people
okay.
who know about the mythology will appreciate it even more,
I see,
but
I see, I see.
still, like, it's still like still would make enough sense for like people who are not aware of our culture or like our mythology.
I see. Okay, okay. So let's get back to the that you mentioned also that it was very hard for you when people left your company. So were there times, I'm wondering, when like you disagreed with your mates, with your friends who are developing the game with you, and it was very
I
hard,
didn't get you.
to take into middle ground with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you can only motivate someone externally so much, right? Like you can only
Okay.
do that, and then it'll reach a point
Sorry.
where it'll feel like you're doing it for the sake of doing it.
Okay.
It won't be organic in the sense.
Okay.
There'll be periods where there are no results. We are just working, right?
I
Like
see. I
we
see. I see. I
we
see.
have no results, and it is extremely hard for me or for them, to be very honest, to be motivated through that tough times. It's just how tough you are as a person. That is the only factor that helps you
True.
finish it
True.
or like
True.
reach
True.
there.
Like push yourself.
Yeah. So we do try to have like a good environment, and like try to be supportive of regardless whatever is happening in their lives. Try to be supportive of the fact that this is taking time. We understand that that there are no results for a long time.
I see.
But yeah, like it's both. You get to sit down and think about the fact that, okay, are we doing the right thing? Because people are uh, losing faith in it. Should we do something less ambitious? Stuff like this
What
pops
helped
up.
you? What helped you? Speaking of that, what helped you being motivated throughout the process and not questioning always yourself and your work?
I mean, that questions are all sometimes raised by my team and sometimes by myself, and few by probably talking to other people in the industry that are going through something like I'm going through, or just meeting other devs, kind of puts us in perspective, like gives us some perspective that, okay, everybody similarly who is trying to like do something like I'm doing it, they are going through similar things.
I
And
see.
yeah, so like talking to other people definitely, puts gives at least some sort of perspective on what
Perspective.
and where we are.
I see. I see.
Obviously, showing the game to other people also, helps us get some,
Feedback.
reassurance that okay, we are probably like on the right track. It's just taking time.
I
That's
hope
it.
that you won't lose your patience and your belief in this game because it
Yeah,
looks
yeah. I
awesome
mean,
and
we've been
the story
we've
is
been
also very nice.
consistent. Yeah.
I want to play the full game, so don't lose your hope on making it. Please,
Awesome.
please
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
do that. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm wondering. You mentioned also like the stories about like questioning the folk tales and all these mythological creatures itself. So as for you, are you also a person who questions these type of things in your real
Yes.
life,
Yeah. Yeah.
or would it be the situation with you as well if you would be put into like this crazy, chambers? You would like be shocked and horrified by those creatures?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't survive a day in the story probably.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was put into the game, probably not. But like, um, I definitely went through that cycle where, I believed, I did not believe, and then I had to look for proof and whatnot. Like most of the people with their, mythologies or like with their faith and whatnot. Like, you go through a lot of stages.
True, true, true.
Um, yeah, so as a person, you question things, and um,
Which is not bad,
there,
right? So
yeah, exactly. So this is pretty much like, we are. This is not that, you have to believe this. This is about what if this was true? How
true, true,
beautiful
true,
would
true. I
that
agree.
be?
I agree. Yeah.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is like the movie Life of Pi,
Yeah, I saw that. I
where
love that movie, by the way. I love
yeah,
that movie. I saw
where
that in
where he
theaters.
gets to yeah, where he gets to choose between two stories, which one story is about the tiger being real, and the other story is just
Yeah, the ending was a
all
mind fuck
human
with
story.
that. Yeah, trying to
Yeah,
figure out which was real and which was not. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly.
But we do want to believe the story where the tiger is. So there is that hopeful part of us that what
True,
if this was real?
true, true, true,
So
true, true, true.
so
Yeah,
even though there is not no like solid proof that this mythology is real or not, but what if this was real, and what if our game is about that? So that kind
okay,
of is the idea there. Yeah.
I see. Why do you think people, like you mentioned, as kids, we believe and we are taught by, make us believers, but as we grow up and adults, we lose our hope and belief. Why is that? What do you think about that?
I believe so we are open minded when we are kids, right? Like we are imaginative. We
True,
believe
true, true, true.
this, we believe beyond the stars and
True.
whatnot. Like
And we wish for the
uh,
stars, right? That's our
yeah.
goal, to see the stars, which
Yeah,
is very nice.
exactly. And then we get real, or the world, the society, pushes us into a realistic person or
Do you
position,
think it's
and we
good?
get.
Do you think it's good?
I believe we need to save that kid in ourselves. We need to keep that kid alive.
Love that. Love
Uh,
that. Love that you are
yeah,
saying that. Love that. I agree.
yeah. So like by not believing in it, we are basically narrowing our mindset. We
True,
have
true, 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 true. In a box,
what
right?
if,
In a box, set in a
yeah,
box. Yeah.
like scientists do, like many scientists say, like this cannot be true because we couldn't find any proof or something
Proof.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
by narrowing that down, you are basically saying, what if this was a real possibility?
True,
You are
true, 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 true.
so there is a high possibility like that could also be true.
Yeah.
Not necessarily true, but being open to that makes you a better person philosophically
True,
and
true, true,
also
true, true, true,
as a
true.
person. Yeah.
Do you think like people can get back to their mindset of securing their inner child, like being open-minded about everything?
Yeah, I believe so. Like I mean, at least video games at least help people like keep that alive. I feel
True.
celebrating all these, like let's say God of War, or
Yeah.
these stories that are like ancient, and we are still have pumped about stories like that. So I believe video games are doing their part to like keep the inner child alive.
True, true, true.
And more people need to like not just video games. You could talk about books, movies, and whatnot. Like it's all about that being entertained like a kid.
True.
That is what we strive for. Like our off days are all about finding that fun
True. Even
in
if it's not
life.
intentional, right? That's but we realize
Yeah,
at the end of the day that we want to be kids again. Is it true
yeah,
for
that is.
yourself that you find yourself by making games, by the way, and you could stay a kid, even being adult?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, like making games is just like me imagining stuff. Like, let's say you're playing with your friends, you're imagining stuff and like playing together, right? Like it still feels like that. I'm making stuff up, as with the story, and like we build serious systems and whatnot. So like it's partly like a serious job, and then you have all these goofy stuff that you get to do in your day job. So definitely making games for me is like keeping that inner child alive. Yeah.
Okay, I see. I see. By the way, I would like to mention this. I played as a kid. I played a game called Shades: Wrath of Angels. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that game, but I
No.
will
Yeah.
show you after the stream. So it has a very like similar theme and moral questions. It's not in the Indian mythology. I think it's. I'm not sure in what mythology it is, but the story is about like a brother trying to find the other brother, and also like going to this path on the road in which from he's an unbeliever to believer and fight monsters, with swords. Like I think it's Egypt mythology, if I'm correct, because he's fighting
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
weird creatures. I will show it, but
Yeah.
your game reminded me for that game, and I fell in love with your game since that because I loved it in my childhood and still love that game. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll have to check that game. Yeah.
Okay, I will send you after the stream. Okay, so um, yeah, we discussed a lot of topics. So are you what things would you like to add in the future to your game, other than the chapters, the stories, the magic spells? What other things could you think of that might not be the time now for to add to the game, but like, I don't know, co-op or something other features?
I mean, the so we did work on the lore of the game very extensively,
Okay,
and I believe the world is interesting enough for like more stories to be told in the same universe.
universe, I see.
So yeah, so like I believe like if we get the chance, if the game is successful enough, we'll have a chance to tell
Which we
more
hope
in the
so.
same
It
way.
will.
Yeah,
I hope so too.
yeah. Yeah, so that is probably like a something that I would want to do,
I see.
where so this is like the origin story of the main character, right? So I believe this is because there is a lot of unknown to the main protagonist through. So action horror is like the perfect genre for the game to like tell the story in that format. But I feel the next chapters could just be pure action because now he has no fear after the game, right? Like the
I see. Okay,
first
that makes
this,
sense.
this yeah. So this is like the origin story. He's partly scared of the world and the world itself because he's a regular human, and basically has picked up some powers. That's about it. So he's still scared. So the natural progression would be to like completely go into action. But yeah, like these are like few ideas in the air at the moment. But yeah, something would be interesting to just run with these mechanics and make it full-fledged action game. Yeah.
Okay, I see. I love the fact, by the way, that checking out your game's Steam page and talking now about it, it seems like it's more like a moral thing about the story and not that so deep horror. Like it's scary, but it's not scary because it's intentionally scary, but it's
Yeah.
scary because the person, the main hero, is not a believer of these creatures, right? So that's why it's
Yeah.
scary to you. And I love the fact of that. I love that. I love that. So it's like a mind trick, that if you
Yeah.
figure it out, it's not that scary, but it's still scary because you're not familiar with these creatures and you're feeling lonely and
Yeah.
lost without powers. I love that. I love that.
I mean,
Okay.
it's not being an action horror game for being an action horror game. The story naturally fits well with that genre. So
I see. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what comes first to you as a developer and also as a gamer? Story or gameplay? How do you feel about that?
So we did the lore first
Okay.
to just so I had this rough plot of the game, but obviously I'm not a mythological expert, so I bought
Okay.
in an expert who does lore writing and does a lot of manga right from in India. So these guy, I bought him on board to write the lore. I think lore came first, and based on the lore, we had broken the game into chapters. About six chapters were like finalized, and the six were, still being worked on. That is when we decided to like think about mechanics, what could be part of it, and what the structure of each chapter is
I
going to
see.
be and
I see. I
whatnot.
see. I see. I see.
Definitely, obviously, I wanted to make a melee magic game, but as the lore evolved, the ideas became even better. So I
Okay.
would say like story and then gameplay, the order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, by making games, how have your perspective changed as a player from being a
Mhm.
developer? How do you feel about that? Have you become more
Uh,
judgy or less judgy about games?
Yeah, so there is this problem where, if you are a game developer, it's very hard to play games because your mind starts breaking down games while you're playing them. So I tend to gravitate towards these hardcore games that make you forget, and subconsciously stop you from breaking down the game.
Okay.
So
So you're
um,
not playing chill games, right?
yeah, I immediately start breaking things down, like,
I
this
see. I
is
see. I
this
see.
and this is that. This is how they pulled off this and whatnot. And then these hardcore games, these horror games or like these Resident Evil games, they kind of make me forget that I'm a game developer, just going through the game. So, definitely, uh, I started to like pick things up that are important to our game. Definitely, like that is always there. Your subconscious is always shopping for ideas while you're playing. But yeah, like um, definitely appreciate action horror even more after starting the production. Yeah.
Okay. I see. So, what topic, a segment of your game that we haven't touched is the music part. So, what could you tell us about the music part of your game and the soundtrack and the
Yeah.
sounds?
Yeah. So we are taking. As I previously mentioned, father is doing the music composition for the game. So he's a professional for the past 30 years.
Okay.
He's into the movie industry that is locally based out of.
Okay.
Um, so he does all these soundtracks, background scores, music for songs and whatnot.
Has he been
So
familiar, by the way, with the game industry itself before?
there's not much gaming industry exposure for my dad at least,
Okay.
considering high concept games are not being made in India.
I see.
It's all casual games and they don't require the kind of skills that my father does. So it's
I
more
see.
like a scoring like a movie, right? Like so this project, he did work on few video game projects, through contracts and whatnot. He gets to do these works. This game is where I think we did like a deep dive into like what this game needs in terms of sound.
Okay.
We did have we already are 20 tracks done for the game, original soundtracks for the game.
Okay.
A bunch of them have been used in teaser. They've been used in our latest demos and whatnot. So
Are
we are
they
taking very
non-vocal? All of them? Like, are they non-vocal, or do you have like vocal versions too?
at the moment it's all soundtracks for the gameplay.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so like we don't have vocals at the moment, but I think some part of the game will require vocals as well. But at the moment we are doing all these high tension music for combat, and then rest of the cutscene music and all this. So
I
like
see. Okay.
I believe for an action horror or like horror, sound plays a very important role. Almost 40 to 50% of the feel is from the sound effects
True.
and like
True.
the
True.
background
True. I
score.
agree. Yeah.
So like I do like I'm very hands on with my father to like get these tracks. I work with him very closely. Like it's usually like 1 week work with him, and then I leave after the direction, and then I get the tracks in few weeks. and then we go back and forth. So that is always a thing. But yeah, like we have that close relationship, so I can like push him towards what exactly I need. Yeah, like we are taking great care to like make music A, and the B, we want to represent the Indian instruments as well in the soundtracks,
Okay.
which is not something that is widely like hear these classic instruments like sitar, tabla in Western music as well, but like highlight beautiful instruments that could be used, that are not being used in in other aspects of sound design or
I
music
see. So it's a
production.
refresh take, we could say, on music part
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, I think you'll pleasantly be surprised.
Your voice went off. Your voice went off.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just haven't heard the finishing sentence, what you said.
Yeah, so I said you'll be pleasantly surprised by the music. Yeah.
Okay, I see, I see. I
Yeah.
love that you are trying to, like with your father and the other team members, trying to, take a very refreshing way and also
Yep.
put your own culture and, home experience into the game. I love that. I love that. Like,
Yeah.
I love the fact. And I
I think that is
no, go for it, sorry.
what, yeah, I think that is what makes this game unique. That is what is game. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I love that the fact is that the story is about a son and a father, and it's true for yourself as well. So even if it wasn't intentional, but it still is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that true, by the way, that you're trying to reconnect to your father in real life? What
Not
would you say?
exactly. I
Not
mean,
exactly.
that
Okay.
there's no parallel there for sure.
You don't
Uh,
have to fight the battles, right?
yeah. Yeah. I don't want to find my father as such, but yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, you grow up and then you have some distance with your parents. That is for sure. But like. But this project is basically doing the opposite. Where we are working even more closely than
Okay, I
before.
see.
So yeah,
Was it, by the way, weird to work with your father? How do you feel about that?
definitely not weird because we in the childhood as well. He keeps making music. He shows us, me and
I
my
see, I
sister.
see. So he was
We
like
listen to that.
open-minded about showing it.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Clear, fam.
So we are
Makes sense.
used to growing. We grew up with like his music being constant feedback and whatnot. He
I
does.
see, I see.
I
Okay.
mean,
So it was
yeah,
intentional.
he doesn't treat it like kids. He does try to take our opinion, like even if it's useful or
That's
not. Like
lovely
he
to
just
hear. That's lovely to
yeah,
hear. Nice.
yeah.
Nice. I love
So
that. I love that.
it's it's pretty natural to like work with.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Try to not lose him by monsters and rituals, okay?
yeah,
Try to be safe out there.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, love that, love that, love that. Okay. Would you like to learn magic, by the way? If it would be
yeah. I
available?
mean, that would be very helpful for sure.
Okay. Okay. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the release date goal for your game?
Not so clear at the moment.
Okay.
We are working chapter to chapter right now, but yeah, like we don't want to put like an unrealistic date out there and
I see.
not reach it.
To box
Um,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what happens if you like realize, okay, that I would like to do one more or two more chapters, not just 12? Is that the case, or could be that the case about your
Yeah,
game?
so there is an idea where we are for publishers, but we are still making this with our own money. Like so,
I see.
let's say if we don't uh, get a publisher at a date, internal date that I cannot talk about. After that, we could probably like release half of the game. That is the first six chapters as part one, and then make the second part of it. So there is an idea where if we don't find a publisher in time, split the game into two and like probably release the first part, which is I'm not sure how well that would do, but is like one of the plans which
Would
I
you rather
don't.
finish the game full and release by
Yeah,
that?
I would rather love to finish the game completely.
I see. I see.
But yeah, life and stuff can happen.
True. 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 I understand
Without.
that. Yeah. I see. Okay. Is it important for you to keep your freedom even if you would work with a publisher? Your
Uh,
creative freedom, I mean.
yeah. I mean, definitely we would love to. I mean, that is a priority. But if there is a chance for us to like reach more audience, we could, figure out a way to like lose some sort of control for sure. But if it serves the purpose of reaching more people, uh, but yeah, like we've been indie for so long, that kind of tells you that we love our freedom and
True,
so.
true,
But
true. I understand, and I love that. I love that you're trying to make refreshing experiences and not
yeah,
boxing yourself into something
yeah,
that's not you.
definitely would not like to make, we ourselves would not like to play. So yeah, so that has been the philosophy at the studio.
I see. Okay. Do you have, by the way, other ideas for other games in the for the future? Would you
Yes,
be like down to make other games in the future if you release this one?
yes, yeah. I mean, there are a bunch of like every other indie or every other video game
Have
developer
you
out.
like have do you have like a list of ideas noted down?
Yeah, at this point, yes, yeah.
Okay, okay.
But there are, those projects have various degrees of ambition, and I don't think we are at a stage where we will be able to like do justice to those ideas.
I see.
So this occult chambers is probably something we could do on our own money with our own set right now. But other projects are ambitious in their own right. So we are not ready for it. So at some point when we are ready for it,
I
those
see.
games,
I
I would
hope
love
so.
to
I
make.
hope so. I hope so because you're doing great work with your teammates as well.
Thank
Nice.
you. Yeah.
Okay, so and as going back to release plans of your game, are you also planning to release your game for consoles as a physical version as well, like a disc version?
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, I would love to release it, considering I mean I do prefer physical
Me too. That's why I
copy.
asked. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And it would make sense, right? With the little notebook with all these folk tales or a character figurine or something like that.
yeah, physical is. I mean, I don't know. We are physical beings, I guess. I love to have something like a book with us, like a disc, right? So,
True, 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 true.
um, but I'm not sure if we are going the indie route, there would be a physical disc. But let's say if we are going with a publisher, that would be my top priority, like as one of my demands that will you guys be able to like do a physical disc release? Yeah,
I see. And how do you feel
yeah.
about this publisher thing? Do you believe that you will be able to find the right publisher for your team and for yourself? How do you feel about that
Um,
so far?
So this is our first PC and console game, and we are from India. So like odds of us getting publisher is a bit difficult, I would say.
Okay, but
But
why?
we are, yeah.
Why
You
do
were
you feel
saying
like
something.
that?
I mean, we did like talk to a lot of publishers, right? Till now, and the confidence has been a bit low compared to, let's say, other games that are being made in other regions. Because I'll be very honest, there have not been a game like this made in our country and had success. So there is inherent risk and the history in the country. So so there is some amount of like trust from the publisher and that is needed. So we'll have to prove it with very good vertical slices or like playable builds and whatnot. So
I hope
it's
so
going
that
good.
I hope so
Yeah,
that
it's
you will.
going
So
good.
sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to say I hope so that you will find the right publisher because
Yeah,
your game looks awesome and so many refreshing experiences from your game. So
yeah. We are having some good conversations at the moment, but there are still conversations at the end of the day. So like nothing final.
I see.
Um,
I see.
we did get selected to game DevCom's NRW Indie Showcase, which I'm very thankful for the jury to like. And probably hopefully we'll, if you are there, you will get to play the as well. So we'll be showing it to like a lot of publishers and try our luck there.
I hope so that you will succeed and your game will have success because I believe in your game. So never give up.
Thank.
Never give up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. We talked about a lot of topics. Is there anything that we haven't touched and you would like to talk about before we go into questions from my stream? What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, I think you touched way more questions than I thought, and like few of them
I
are
hope.
like very good and personal. So I like it. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's why I wanted to say. I hope that you did not mind my personal questions because.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. No worries. Yeah.
thank you for that. Okay, let's jump into the stream questions. Let us know if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, van bármi kérdés? I still do have questions, by the way, but I want people to let as well to. Okay, so Minnie is asking an interesting question. Why a horror game, and what makes developers or creators onto the route of making horror games and to scare people? That's an interesting question.
So the game itself revolves around Agori culture, rituals, and these topics. And obviously, we are not sadists to like make people get scared of our games. But I feel like as a fan of action horror, we have very new and fresh to contribute to. Like action horror games have been, I mean, have been great, but like what we have is like a very fresh setting.
True.
And
That's we discussed before, right? So it's not like a
yeah,
typical horror game, but it's just scared of being not knowing things, yeah, and
yeah,
not believing in
exactly.
them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I believe it's not these jump scares fest or something like that. It's more genuine, psychological, and sometimes stuff does pop on the screen and scare you, but like this is all part of the journey, like in favor or trying to support the story. So
Okay.
um, it's a natural progression. Yeah,
Okay. I see.
we're not trying to scare people.
Okay. Well, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's we discussed earlier, by the way. This
Yeah.
question. Yeah. Okay. Bár más kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Any more questions? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Which folktale, by the way, is your favorite from India?
So like there are a lot of mythological stories. Obviously, we have Mahabharata and Ramayana and all these like epics in our country,
Okay.
and we are inspired from these godlike characters in these books. Um, so like huge fan of Agori culture and how they are so different to like the regular culture in India. And it's just the more I read about them, the more fascinated I am, and like the more questions I get. For example, the whole concept of avatars, right? Like each god, in order to in order to spawn on this earth, he needs to take an avatar, that is and get or give birth, and then become a human,
Okay.
which is very similar to what we do in games. Game, you
True.
have to enter the world through a player. So when I
True.
learn about stuff and then read about mythology, it's like we are in a godlike simulation, that is just running. So
True.
like there is a lot of parallels between, at least the way I look at it, a lot of
True. I
parallels.
agree with you. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and the game also is going to explore all of that in a very subtle way.
Do you think that there will be a time and date for us human beings to understand more about these folk tales and to realize that they might be true? How do you feel about
Uh,
that?
I
Like not just
hope,
read about them, but to actually realize them into our real
yeah,
world.
yeah, like it all could be like a lost civilization or like lost that we are just rediscovering,
True.
because today's technology is alien to someone in the cave, right? So we are talking across the world. This is a very alien technology to them.
True.
And imagine if they had some occult technology back then, it would be very alien to us. So we don't know what is right or what is true. So it's
Yeah,
better to just
exactly.
have an open mind.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting is that we are fearing these times of the past, right? That that might be, you know, not even our past but our future, but we don't realize it. It's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird because, like you said, we are, for them, we would be the weird kind of, you know, human beings with this
yeah,
technology here on Discord that we are talking and live streaming it, but we
yeah,
still like fear in the back of our mind that they are the scary ones, you know, with their, you know,
yeah,
mythological creatures. It's weird. It's weird, but it's still like
yeah.
fun, and I'm a huge
Mm.
believer of this that this universe
I
has a
mean,
lot of to give us. But yeah, yeah.
it's more exciting to believe, I guess, at least for me.
Yeah, and like we discussed it earlier, like as kids we believe and we like reach
Yeah,
for the stars and we want to, you know, travel to space. But as
yeah,
adults we grow up, you know, get money, get a job, do what's must, you know, and we forget about these things, and it's sad.
yeah.
It's sad at the end of the day because, like, as humans we are limited, you know, into this
Mm.
little box, which is sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hölgyek, urak, bár más kérdés? Ladies and gentlemen, any more questions? Any more questions? Let us know. If you would happen to make another game and you would
Mhm.
choose from that list that you noted down, what would be the first one to do, or what? I know it's spoiler time, so you don't have to talk about it
Yeah.
if you don't want to, but
So I think there's one game where I want to make a zombie apocalypse game that is set
okay,
in India.
okay,
That is set in India and
okay.
like has its own flavor. But yeah, that has a good story hook and whatnot, which I believe is going to be interesting in its own way.
Okay.
Obviously, the genre itself is pretty overdone at this point,
True,
but
true, true, true,
uh,
true.
I would like to approach it when the time is right. Yeah,
Okay. I love your mindset that you are trying to, you know, make refreshing experiences, especially with stories elements. I love that. I love that.
yeah,
Love that.
yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if there is any more question. Hölgyek, urak, bár más kérdés? And don't forget also to wishlist the game. Wishlist the game.
Thank you.
Let me
Yeah.
share your Steam page, the game Steam page into my chat. I did that on Discord as well, but let me do it in again in the chat. Okay. Okay. Hölgyek, urak, bár más kérdés? Any more questions? How do you deal, by the way, with negative opinions? If you got any, or if you would get any negative opinions, how can you deal with those?
I mean, we do get like a bit of negative,
Okay.
reactions from the internet. I mean, we ourselves, Indians, are very self-doubting to our own kind, and there is a bunch of gamers out there that don't believe that indie studios from India can pull off a game like this.
But why is
Some
that? Why is that? It's not true. Like, I don't feel like people should be judged by
Yeah,
being in a country, you know, like it's
yeah,
stupid.
that is sad. That is sad for sure. But for some reason, they believe that we are not capable of making these grand games. Obviously, we are here to like prove that wrong. But
And I
the
hope so
wide,
that you will have success and kick them in the ass, you know, with your game. Like, come on, man, I
yeah,
did that.
and also it will help a lot of other developers who are trying to do this in our country. And
I see, but that's
it's
really
a
sad that there are some people. That's
yeah,
sad because it's the motivation at the end of the day, right? So, but
yeah.
how can you deal with those feelings at the end of the day?
I mean, we knew that this is something that is already
So you're already
you know
prepared for this. I
yeah,
see.
we are prepared for it. We have tough skin for sure. Reddit is brutal and whatnot. So,
I see.
uh,
I
yeah,
see. People on the internet and not just in the internet can be very crazy and harsh with their judgment. I always say this in my dev life episodes that my goal with this whole show was like to show the actual human beings behind the curtain who are making games, because a lot of players are just, you know, put their real life issues to the table when they judge games and play games, and they forget that it's actually, you know, people who are making these games. It's not just, you know, click that you make games and the
yeah,
game is there and you can play it. It's not like And I feel like, yeah, there is a huge, gap between the player side and the developer side, which needs to be,
Yeah.
put a bridge
Sometimes,
on.
yeah, sometimes they can be extremely harsh,
True,
it,
true, true,
but that is just the reality.
true.
You will have to take their love, you'll have to take their hate.
Yeah,
So
but it's still like the fact that it, it parallels with with your game story that, we as humans, we are scared about what we do not understand, and it's also true that we can be very harsh and judgy about what we do not understand. And I feel like nowadays there's so many games and so many players as well which do not, or who are not understanding these games that they play, that they are willing to, like I said, not just, put their real life problems into the judgment of games, but also, like, the experiences that they do not understand, and being harsh about the games. And it's sad because at the end of the day, like you also said, it can get you, I don't know, depressed or demotivated or sad about it, and doubt that you are making the,
yeah,
right moves with your game. And yeah, that's what people do not understand, that even if they have an opinion which might be not for you, or it can be written down by, a normal phase, and not, by a judgy phase, then okay, you should not be doing this or something like that, which is stupid in my
yeah,
opinion, right? Because
yeah.
I think that if those people would develop in games as well, they might not be this harsh, right?
Yes, that is for sure. Like, they don't know how difficult it is, or
True.
it's just like how, if an athlete sees a young boy train, he wouldn't be jealous of him. He would be like, good for him.
Respect him, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But it's, let's say, if someone who doesn't see any value in being an athlete, if they see them, they would be negative. So it's
True,
always like that,
true,
where,
true, 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 true,
you
true.
know, it comes from ignorance rather than,
True, exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah. And not understanding what the hard work
yeah,
behind it, because like I said, it's just a click, that they're athletes or sportsmen, or making games or anything, or spacemen flying a spaceship. Come on,
yeah,
man. You gotta do hard work before that you're doing that one click, that we see as hype. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so if there is not any more questions, I will have a closing question. Do you feel like, how do you feel about marketing of your game? Because we haven't talked about that, and I always discuss this on my dev live shows, that creators find it very hard. It's like the work of evil for them. Do you feel the same as for your project?
I mean, I think in the last 6 months is when talk about it on Twitter or X for the the new name. But like, at the moment, it's like the classic indie marketing. I'm tweeting about it. But yeah, like eventually we, like, when it's close to like a preview stage where people can play the build, like, or close to release. I think we'll ramp up the game. We definitely don't want to, have false advertisement out there, which the game cannot do. We want to be very realistic and like manage expectations.
Nice.
Like, that is being, considering that, I do, like talking about the game, seeing people reacting to it. For example, I think you picked up our game on Twitter, if
Yeah,
I'm not wrong.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
did.
like, I see a lot of value in, like, it also validates, and sometimes, shows us that, people are liking this game, we are doing something, we are in the right direction, stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
exactly. That's the hard part about promotion, right? If you could show to every person in the world your game, then
mm.
you might end up being a billionaire, right? It's true. It's true. It's the lack of promotion. I say this in every episode of my Dev Live
Yeah,
show, that if there would be a possibility, to show every human being that who plays or into video game industry, every developer
yeah,
would be a billionaire. It's just a lot of. I think it's a two-sided problem, because I feel like on one hand it's the lack of people, being open-minded about games, and that they are not reading about games. They rather just pick some games that maybe their favorite streamer or YouTuber played nowadays, or they saw,
yeah,
in on some video game journalist websites like IGN or GameSpot, The other thing is
Yeah,
like it's like we discussed it. It's very hard for developers, to be not just developers but marketers. Like in the stock
yeah,
market that you have to
yeah. I
promote.
mean,
So
it's
it's
as you said, it's a two-way problem. For example, a lot of remakes and a lot of reboots and remasters
true,
are happening at the moment, and it's not just a blame on the devs, right? Like people are also just
true,
excited
true, true, true,
about
true,
IPs. They're
true,
they're
true,
not into new stuff.
true.
I don't mean to like blame gamers, but like obviously new games are coming out once in a while and surprising everyone. But still, I
I
feel
would
like
rather
general,
blame gamers than developers. I'm not the one who blame or who is blaming developers. I think it's more like I feel like the realest problems behind this is like nowadays almost every one of us are playing games, and this is a problem since like I feel like when gamers were bullied for being gamers, it was the time when
hmm.
it was the old school and golden era of games because those gamers were so passionate about playing games.
Yeah, yeah,
And nowadays it's like I always say this term of trend gamers, which people are like who play games, but it's just their hobby. They are not passionate enough to go to a shop or to read every day. I remember myself, and I still do it now. Like every time I wake up, I boot up my computer, read news about games, and I'm still passionate at almost
yeah,
being
yeah.
31 about doing that. And I feel like people are not that. Like I remember talking with my old school friends who were really hardcore gamers about games. We could sit down and talk forever about games, but with nowadays players, it's so hard to find common things. Like they are not loving
Yeah.
these games or even past games that much, and it's sad because like I feel like the culture of being a gamer and the gaming industry like sat down to a middle ground now, in which
Hmm.
it's cool that a lot of people are playing games, but still like you cannot find those people who are really passionate about what they are
Yeah.
doing. And it's true for the whole industry. It's not like or other industries as well, like music industry or reading just a book,
Movies.
talking about the
Yeah.
book. It's true for everything, or movies. So
Yeah.
yeah,
When something just becomes big,
yeah,
mainstream,
mainstream. Yeah, exactly.
it suffers from this problem where there's a lot of casual people
True,
coming in,
true,
and then
true.
it
Which is
kind of
great,
what.
but at the end of the
Yeah.
day they are who are ruining this, because with their negative opinions. No, I'm saying that
Yeah.
I know it's harsh, but it's true,
Yeah.
man. Like I feel
Yeah.
like casual ones, I wouldn't say casual on that level that they are like bad at games, don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying
Hmm.
casual like they are bad at games. Casual like
Hmm.
their perspective on games is casual, like they are not wanting to get involved, which sucks because I feel like the meaning of hobby back in like going into the past in 10 years, 10 years ago, it hobby meant that you are so passionate about it, like
Yeah.
it's your must thing to do. You get back home after work or after school and you spend so much time being there into games or into music or reading a book. But nowadays hobby is just, I don't know, I play 1 hour a week, and it's like, come on, man, it's not a hobby. Like, so the meaning the
Yeah.
hobby changed a lot, right? And then
Yeah.
the people's attitude to games as well. So yeah, for me it's weird because like I said, it's rarely hard to find a normal or a deep conversation about games if I'm not talking to a developer but a player. So players,
Yeah.
most of nowadays players are just okay, I played one game in 10 years and that's all. And I was like, what the hell, man, there are thousands of
Yeah.
games coming out 1 year and you are just playing one game, and it's good of course, but still, like, come on, man.
Yeah, sad, but like that is a problem of becoming mainstream, I guess.
True, 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 true,
Yeah.
true. Sometimes I wish gaming industry would not become mainstream.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish,
that is
but
very true. Actually, like the hardcore people definitely feel like this should have been put in a bottle and like be special rather than blow up and become very supernatural
yeah,
and
because the judgy perspective that players are picking up, it's more like on a casual side, I feel like.
yeah,
Hardcore gamers were.
and
No, go for that, sorry.
yeah, and then like a few of my friends release their games and they get this extremely harsh feedback. Good game.
True.
It's just because they are consumers at the end of the day. They are looking at, okay, I paid this many dollars. What am I getting out of it? It's a very objective, or like based on their biases and whatnot. So
True,
Um,
true, true.
there's not a lot of education around how, how difficult development is and whatnot.
True,
I
true.
don't expect everyone to, understand that, but it could be a bit more respectful when they're leaving reviews and whatnot.
True, true, true.
Yeah.
And this money-oriented judgment is also, in my opinion, is very stupid of players and consumers, because
Yeah.
I feel like in one hand, it's of course it's understandable that people are willing to pay and they want quality for their um, money that they paid
Mm-hmm.
for games, for example. But still, like, you cannot like qualify or put on a parallel side the money and the quality of the game. Like, it's two different topics. Like, we discussed it earlier in my dev life shows, that as a creator, if you're making a form of art, you cannot say how much worth it is. Like, it's the most stupid thing, in my opinion, right? Like, you cannot
Yeah.
judge a game by being $60 or $10. Like, it's, come on, man. Some people work 10 years on a game, or 5 years or 3 years, and it's like, I don't know. I would say I would pay rather much more for a game, because I value and respect the work of developers. But of course, that's just my opinion. But I think, like,
Mm.
there is, I don't know. So it's weird. It's weird. I feel like,
Yeah.
on one hand, I understand that it's harder for people to get more money for their job, and that's why they are so self-aware about their money for paying games. And also, like, this
Mm.
also made humans
Yeah.
rethink of the value of, nowadays every game should be free, which is also stupid. Like, games should be free, because I think that the developer ask for the money, ask for their work.
One thing
Yeah,
that I found in recent times is the comparison of number of hours, the money that they're
true,
paying,
true,
which
true,
is
true.
getting very
It's
point.
true,
Like,
exactly, exactly. Like, you
yeah.
cannot compare to, or willing to do that. It's like a stupid thing to
Mm.
do. Compare somebody's work who have done 5, and putting all his or her project, like his own money, on the table, right? End up spending billions or millions of dollars, or other currencies that people use, but
Mm.
they might end up of money on actual projects, and they might not even get for the 1/4 of it, and it's stupid. Like, the price, and come on, man, they might end up being, people don't care, people just caring
Yeah.
about your, what the hell,
Yeah.
man, this man might be broke this game,
Yeah.
and you don't care, and it's stupid. Like,
Just, oh, your game is 10 hours. This should just be like,
exactly, exactly. But they do not consider, like you said,
yeah.
the example of athlete. If it's not appealing to them, they won't respect it. Weird for me, but it is what it is, I guess, right? People's mind will change in this direction. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, any more questions before we close our today's show? Let me know. Let me know. And yeah, don't forget to wishlist the game. Don't forget to do that. Let us know. Let us know. Let us know if there is any more question. Hölgyek, urak, bármi más kérdés? Itt az idő, hogy még kérdezzetek, ha szeretnétek. Any more questions? Any more questions? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Let us know if there is any more questions. I will wait for 1 more minute, and if there is not,
Sure. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I, I will close down the stream. So please let us know. You will, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to ask on Discord as well if you might have some questions later, because I know people might have questions, but they forgot to ask it or something like that. But yeah. Do you have something on your mind that we haven't discussed, by the way?
No, I think we pretty much covered a lot of topics. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's call it an end then. If there is no more questions, I hope that you had fun
Yeah,
today, and
did have a good.
I hope that you did not mind my personal questions, like I said before. And yeah, everyone who was on the show, don't forget to wishlist the game. It's awesome. It's a refreshing experience, and I hope that we will meet again in this show as well. And yeah, thanks everyone who joined us today live or will be watching back the VOD or the edited version of the YouTube version of this interview of ours. Thank you everyone who joined. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.